What is going on, guys, and a happy Sunday night. We are got to be diving into a bunch of the stocks we're looking forward to this coming week. Some of the top stocks to watch. I have my list. Actually, I got plenty of stocks where that came from. Excited for this upcoming week. Got some new things I'm going to be trying out as well. Actually, let me go to a bigger chart layout so we can see things better. All right, there we go. Some new stuff, and so stay tuned for a future video coming out probably like next week on a test that I'm going to be running this week. So waking up a little bit earlier than usual to be running a specific test across some stuff that I'm looking at, and I'll have a detailed video on all of that obviously coming out later on. But that said, let's dive into some stocks for this week. I do want to point out the overall market outlook first. Dips continue to get bought up. They continue to get bought up, but my anticipation is at some point the rug might be pulled in a larger fashion to some degree. Maybe that will happen underneath a smaller news headline, or maybe a substantial news headline that comes out in the near future. I don't know what it's going to be, but there could be something that essentially, at that point, my speculation is that's where market makers may pull the rug, because at the end of the day, you guys kind of understand that retail is powerful, but there's larger forces that could drive the market, and it doesn't really matter what retail wants to do. So right now, retail is conditioned to buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. Eventually, that's not going to work, and that's going to burn a lot of retail. So that's a speculation I have. Also, I don't watch a lot of CNBC these days. I see it in the gym here and there. Also, one other thing to pay attention to, right, is the narrative that seems to be, I'm seeing some videos, I'm seeing some stuff on CNBC, on Twitter that people are tossing around. Of course, I'm not firsthand seeing it live, but from what I'm starting to kind of get a feel for is the narrative there is that, it's retail's fault, right? And this big run is retail's fault. Don't believe that it's really retail's fault. I think it's setting up for a narrative to retail is going to crash the market. I don't really think that is going to be what that makes any sense in my opinion. But that seems like the narrative that is potentially setting up at some point. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen now, but at some point in the future. Could be a couple months, could be a year, 2 years out, who knows. But when we get a substantial pullback, just make sure you're prepared for that. That's why personally, what I'm doing, especially as the markets are looking super strong, I'm going to kind of a little heavier cash, because when we do see dips, you want to be the one that has cash. If you're playing super heavy, that could be really good for some day trade or for some very short-term trading opportunities to go heavier while things are bullish. But understand that if you're looking for long-term plays, like for example, if you're looking to stock some stuff up in your long-term, your portfolios, your IRAs, a long-term investing account, swing trade, your longer-term investing accounts for later on in life, you want to make sure you have some cash. I would just be getting ready in the current state of the market. Be ready if we do see some bigger downside dips for maybe an extended period of time, a couple weeks, instead of a couple days, where we see a day and it pulls back up. If we see a bigger overall dip and a lot of names that you may get hit, that's the opportunity for you to load the boat and literally just look at those, put them away for a couple weeks, for a couple years, and not even look at them. Your bigger name, maybe some tech plays, some stuff like that. So that's at least kind of like the overarching thoughts. Now this week, we're going to be diving into that stuff. So what I want to do actually is I want to pull up, I want to pull up futures. Investing.com futures. Let's pull this bad boy up. What are we looking at right now? So everything looks pretty good. Futures are up, but not much, between flat and about 0.25% is where futures are sitting at right now. VIX is down a little bit. So looks like we're going green into tomorrow. We'll see if that plays out. Of course, things have been pretty green, and pretty strong as of late. So, it seems like the melt up, the summer melt up continues, where it's like a slow, continuous, push to the upside. It has slowed down a little bit in comparison to the push up we saw, I would say, back in like the mid-spring. Actually, I guess the early spring, at the end of March into early April, we saw a pretty substantial push to the upside, followed by consolidation, little pullback, and then it's kind of slowed down a little bit in terms of that. If we're not tracking perfectly along to this top trend line, although we are extending up there. So we'll see if we get back up to that trend line. That would be, overbought in my opinion, based on what we're watching. Of course, that would continue the crazy run we've been seeing this past year across the markets. And, I would anticipate a pullback from those levels. So I'll be buying some SPY puts if we get up to that level, up to this trend line, as a hedge, just in the back pocket, just so I feel a little more comfortable. And it has worked in the past. Maybe I go about a month out from the current time if we hit that line. And that's my plan, at least, I guess, in a kind of broader sense look. But for specific stocks, I do want to talk about a bunch of that. We have a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to that. Did you buy any mentors for swing trading, day trading? So they should be linked down below this video. If not, it should be like my other, maybe not the live, it should be the last YouTube video, yesterday's video. The only stuff that I've bought, I actually bought quite a bit of things over time. I bought Ricky Gutierrez, his course years ago. His course, which kind of kickstarted things like a while back. Then I think that I might have that link below. I also have a link below to Prosperity Trading. That's one of the mentorship groups that I've been in for a while now. I mainly stay in the swing chat there, but great people in the swing chat, and also great mentors there for the day trading side of things. A lot of stuff, a lot of value there. And then Investors Underground is a recent, purchase in a sense. Just, I want to learn more. I want to get a better feel for the shorting side of stuff. And so that they play both sides, but these are not necessarily alert. Investors Underground is definitely not an alert thing. Also, Ricky Gutierrez's course is not an alert thing. The Prosperity Trading, they have alerts, day trade alerts, but it's kind of a guide. It's like, hey, here's what I'm looking at type of thing. But those are the three things that I haven't had like a specific one-on-one type of thing, but those are the three things I have personally paid for myself, and I've gotten value out of them. So I would recommend, if someone is looking for something, they've helped me. So they're helpful stuff. Again, at the end of the day, I also try to make videos and stuff so that people don't have to pay for stuff, because if they don't want to pay for stuff, well, then there's free content on YouTube as well for you to kind of go off of. So that's kind of that's kind of my take on things. But if you have, in a sense, it's also kind of like a write-off too. So it works for me at least. That said, let's dive into some of the plays for this week. What percentage of retail? I don't have a specific number off the top of my head. However, if you just think about how if you look at some of the bigger funds out there and talk about how much money that they're dealing with, it's not necessarily in terms of, the way I see it is in terms of if they wanted to make moves right now, and you guys have saw, look what happened in Viacom, right? VIAC, right? That's one of them. Viacom. I mean, look at this. This was a fund just getting liquidated. I mean, there also was probably some more selling involved too, but this is the potential that a fund just getting annihilated has in a stock, right? For really realistically, this also is an obvious long. However, it's taking so long, which is why it's going to probably burn a lot of retail traders in the process. But that's the type of stuff that funds have the potential to do in terms of getting liquidated, or if they want to just get out of positions, they can move stuff big time. So we're talking billions and billions of dollars. Whereas, retail, obviously, if you look across the board, there's so many people, everyone's got some money in the markets, but is everybody all going to sell the same stock? Is that going to be the equivalent to, essentially a fund liquidating out of an entire stock, or liquidating an entire position, or liquidating their portfolio? No. So you can see how funds have a lot of power, and we're talking hedge funds, the big money. That's who we're kind of concerned with pulling the plug at some point, or whenever they want to pull the rug and that's it, it can happen at any point. And I think it'll be a buyable dip long term, but just make sure you're kind of ready for that if and when it happens on either a certain stock or across the overall markets, which I wouldn't be surprised if we see that at some point. And then it's like, oh my gosh, retail is the reason why, for whatever reason. They want to set the narrative a certain way. It is what it is. Technicals for day trades, pretty much just support, resistance, and then VWAP. Volume weighted average price, that's it. Above VWAP, generally bullish. Below VWAP, generally bearish. And then I use, stocks above VWAP. I use VWAP as support. Below VWAP, I use that as resistance. And that's pretty much it. I try to keep it as simple as possible. You can look at RSI, MACD. You can look at a lot of other stuff. I have, and it's helpful. Personally, I just like to look at support, resistance, draw my line, say this seems like a key area. This is a key resistance. This is a key support. And then I come in with my VWAP, and that's it. I have the 50 SMA and the 200 SMA, showing up on the 1 minute chart. But I don't really use them, unless I'm noticing a trend. But that's pretty much it for that, for in terms of day trade side of things. Okay, so SPCE. If you guys got a chance to check out the flight from today, it was pretty wild. I mean, I didn't even realize I wasn't even planning on watching it. I mean, I remember looking at it last weekend and being like, oh yeah, I got to make sure I figure out, or pay attention to what happens with that if they get postponed or whatnot. I believe it was delayed. I think I was talking about it in a video on the other channel, which is Stock Trends. It should be linked down below as well. I think I talked about it there. And over there, we talk technical analysis, trending stocks, what's hot, right? We talk about what people want to talk about. And then, it's not biased. We're not saying buy the stock, sell the stock. We're just talking about what's going on, support, resistance. Here's what's driving it. Here's what you should be aware of. And we're like, hey, this could be great. Problem with the weekend hold is that if it gets postponed because there was some rain in the forecast, some wind, right? I don't know the extent of how serious that was. I think it was an afternoon thing in terms of the weather. And they did this in the morning, so it worked out. But, what if it doesn't happen? I can see a big sell-off coming, and just be careful of that. Now that it happened, here it is. So if you guys got a chance to see it, it was wild. I was just sitting here, literally just these people just went to space, and then they just came back. It's just nuts. But here, this is big news, right? For space travel and for the next kind of generation of space travel and flight and passengers. But what I also want to hear, there's some video of it too. I think it's when they're coming on in right here, and then they land it. It's insane. But they were up over 280,000 feet in the air. But it went well. They landed it. Everything went well, at least to what we can tell. And this is gonna rip, I think, tomorrow morning. So SPCE is going to rip tomorrow morning. Let's look at how it finished up on Friday. Go back in here, zoom this guy in. So it kind of I got a lot of lines because I was kind of trading it, which I got shopped up on Friday, but I was trading it pretty much all week for little scalps. And then I had some puts earlier in the week that paid off and then it eventually ripped back up. And then the rest of them I got stopped out even. But the general trend has been kind of down the past 2 days generally. And so I think after this, it's going to rip up. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 60 plus pretty easily. Wouldn't be surprised in pre-market if we're trading up over 62.80, which is the all-time highs. So that's key. If we get up over that level, then we're into kind of free reign territory, right? We're kind of beyond resistance that we've seen in the past. So that's key. We'll see how that 62 area, that 60 to 62 area holds up as resistance on SPCE. It's still a pretty big jump from the current levels. So, just of course be cautious there, but I think it's certainly doable in terms of breaking that to the upside. Now, the problem here and why I will love that trade to the upside, and then I will be getting ready if I capitalize. We'll see how if you wake up at 4 a.m. or whatever time you wake up and it's at 62, I'm probably not going to mess with it, right? Probably not. It's just it made too big of a run too fast. In my opinion, it's just not worth it, right, from a risk reward standpoint. But if you catch it early enough or you get a dip, it might not be a terrible idea Monday, Tuesday. But the problem will be after that. Why? Okay, here's BAMSEC.com, SPCE. If you go on to their filings, they have this bad boy right here. Shelf registration S3 on file was amended, and we have $1 billion, okay? So they may offer and sell up to $1 billion in securities. So this is where I think there is a massive downside trade as well in the short term. While it may run up massively, I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking to myself, just how much money this is, just the ridiculous amounts of money it's costing for these test flights and whatnot. I'm like, they have $1 billion S3 on file. There is no way they do not tap into that at some point. The question obviously is when. And so you don't want to be the perpetual bull, or bear, right? Where you're like, okay, I'm going to be shorting the stock, shorting as it's going up. Now, all of a sudden, even if we do get the S3 or if they do drop the offerings or whatever, they raise some capital, maybe it comes right back down to your average and you break even. You want to be someone who is catching a bigger chunk of that move. So I would feel a lot safer potentially looking at puts or something along those lines if we do get up towards that 60 to 70 area. Up in that range, who knows? Maybe even Wall Street Bets wants to take this guy literally to the moon, take it 100 plus. I don't know. But if we get up into that 60 plus area, that's where I'll start to say, okay, I'm going to be less inclined to want to play it on the long side. I'll probably just let it do its thing. And then I'll be waiting for those potential opportunities to the downside because they're probably going to raise. it's almost inevitable in my eyes, based on how expensive just everything just look. I was like, this just looks so expensive. I mean, I can't imagine them not using this opportunity where things went right. You have all the attention, you have the eyes, you have investors looking to get into this thing. You have retail traders ready to invest. They want to be in on this right now, right? And I just can't imagine them not raising capital here on this opportunity. So that's someone I'm watching this week. I said it last week as well. It didn't happen last week. Now that this went well, I would not be surprised if it happens this week or in the near future. So let's be watching out for that. Just make sure. I don't want to see any comments. I don't want to see anybody in the comments saying that I bought SPCE over 70 and now it's trading at 50 after they did the offering and I'm down massive. I do not want to see that. I don't. If you're up over that level, take some profits, make sure you're locking in gains, or just wait for a bigger dip. You're probably going to get a bigger dip at some point. Maybe it's not right now in the short term, but maybe in a couple weeks, you'll get a better opportunity. That's just my take on SPCE. Probably would be my main focus for the entire week, depending upon what happens, if there's more news and if they do the offering and whatnot. Okay. Along those lines, there are some other space stocks that we want to look at. So ASTS, is this one I was looking at today? ASTS. This company, I believe, if I recall correctly, is looking. I have it pulled up on the right hand side. Sorry. AST and Science and our globe partners are building the first and only space-based cellular broadband network to be accessible by standard smartphones. Called Space Mobile, this ultra-powerful network is being designed to provide connectivity at 4/5G speeds everywhere on the planet, land, sea, and in flight. That is cool, okay? And this is one that I recall a while back. I think it was a SPAC, right? I like this play. And so I'll be watching this guy as well. I think all the space plays, a lot of stocks that have those space ties, aerospace stocks, even some defense stocks and stocks like this. I mean, think about that. They are going to be the stocks people are going to be watching if SPCE continues to push up. And if we can, obviously we got the momentum in the space sector right now. That's what you want to be watching. Also, ARK-K. This is the ARK-X is the space exploration ETF by ARK Invest. If we can actually probably pull up, let's see if I can pull it up, lucidtracking.com. I think I can pull up what they actually hold, or I can pull up some of the info inside ARK's ETFs or ARK-K. I mean ARK-X. I keep saying ARK-K. Let's see if I can pull this bad boy up. Let's see. ARK-X. Maybe not. I'll probably pull it up. I might make a separate video or we'll pull it up on like Wednesday, but just this is something to watch going forward. What ARK's got going on, especially in the space ETF. Here it is. Here's ARK-X. This is the space ETF. Don't have any new daily buys, at least as of right there. If I pull up, no change in that, but we can probably scroll down and find more information about this guy on Lucid Tracking. It's lucidtracking.com. It does cost money, but I have an account, so I'll probably, if you guys have questions, leave them in the comment section down below, and I can either make a video or we can talk about it on the next live stream if you want to dive deeper. I wasn't prepared to pull their exact holdings up, but I'm sure you can find them somewhere else. ARK-X is a space exploration ETF, so that's what I'll be watching as well. And then some other ones to watch. Let's see, I have other ones on my list. AIRI is another one that has space ties. It was one that I was swinging a while back. I just cut it off because I had other plays. Now, obviously, patience paid out. Like kind of how how you always look back and you're like, yeah, if I held that stock, I'd be up. And so it's pushing up a little bit from where it was. This was one to watch going into tomorrow as well. AIRI has some space ties. We also have ASTR. This is another one that has space ties as well. Watch this guy right here. This is kind of setting up, putting in higher lows. ASTR, and then I also have AMPG as well on my list. This is one that I actually also hold longer term is my plan on this guy, but it's bottomed out quite well, has some ties to the sector as well. So those are some stocks I am watching in that space sector. Hopefully that is a decent list, at least for you to start from. Again, you can also look at finviz.com, type in space exploration, type in space keywords in the search, and you can find a lot more where that came from of stocks that might have more ties. Maybe more subtle ties, but they will have ties to the sector. So, let's see. Couldn't space be sell the news? I think it could be. Kathy doesn't have space in their portfolio. Yeah, I don't think they do. VISL fits the sector as well. It does. VISL does. How is VISL setting up? VISL is also setting up similar to AMPG. Yeah, the thing with the sell the news though is that the sell the news kind of happened last time pretty hard. So I'm thinking that bears are going to might get comfortable with the sell the news event. So we'll see. I mean, I think it'll be that interesting 4 a.m. spike, and then we'll see how it handles after 4 a.m. If it pulls back into the open, or if we just kind of see the volume continue to come in from like that 7 a.m. all the way to the open time frame, and then if the open rips, then there it is. I think that bears potentially may get comfortable and may just now assume that they're going to drop that offering, and in the meantime, I would not be surprised if bulls slash Wall Street bets, because it's one that has been getting attention on Wall Street bets too. Here and there, it has its ups and downs. Would not be surprised if you see that little squeeze out in the short term, and then of course that's an opportunity I think to either buy some puts for like a couple months out just to be safe. It wouldn't be a bad idea. Or we see a sell the news and we just see a hard drop and the thing goes down to 42. I don't know. I just don't know if it'll happen tomorrow. Personally, if I had to bet, I think it goes up before it goes down. So I think we touch this resistance before we come back down, but we'll see what happens. Lucid site it is pretty cool. It is pretty cool. Do you think Bezos will do Amazon Prime and Mars? Okay. So now I got some other ones on the list as well. Let's see. Mentors for swing trading and technical analysis 2. Yeah, we're going to have, I have something also in the works coming out when it comes to technical analysis. So that will be coming out soon as well. Collaboration is on that front. So there's that. But then I also, all those links and resources I have linked down below. I don't put links down below in the description that I don't either vet or I use. It's not that I vet. I use it all. So if I have a link down there as a resource, it's something that I use. Now, I mean, I don't push stuff because I know people don't want to pay for stuff. But if you are looking for something, I leave links and resources there because I use them. Okay. MTSL was one that pushed up in the after hours on Friday. It pushed up on Friday quite a bit and then pushed up in the after hours. Here's one on the list. I think MTSL is a 4 a.m. pop. And then after that, who knows? So I think this is going to be one that rips hard at 4 a.m., probably pulls back down until 7 a.m., and then at that point, shorts may get comfortable, potentially, or we will see it kind of fall through and fade off. If some other shiny object comes out, we get some crazy news on something else, somebody drops a nice space-related PR, on a different penny stock, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the news this week. If we got some companies ready to drop a PR related to space, I don't know. If SPCE is pushing up, and if they drop some PRs relating to space and some other, who knows? A lot of it's kind of BS sometimes, but if that could run a couple stocks, some low floaters, that could be what catches the eye. And then people are like, okay, I'm going to go to shift to this stock or that stock. But if not, MTSL is one that we'll watch for a pop. And then if it holds up nicely at 7 a.m. into the open, this could be a crazy runner. I personally don't really like playing these guys long after those types of moves they made. I prefer to swing these types of stocks. So I like to buy, if I'm buying a penny stock, generally with heavier size, I'm buying it down towards the lows in anticipation of a catalyst, or at an absolute bottom support where I'm risking a small amount for a much larger gain, right? So that's one to watch going forward tomorrow, MTSL. Just be cautious on chasing that thing. If it does go crazy, it may even halt up. Who knows how that goes. Outside of that is some other ones I want to point out. NEGG. NEGG, this is one that I think is not a terrible idea for either if it firms up here and holds the mid 40s, this could be a good potential long. But I'm thinking if it doesn't get back up over $60, this is probably one that comes down at some point over the coming days/weeks. So this has options too. I mean, I don't know how expensive they're going to be tomorrow morning, but they have July 16th. I would probably play 20th. I would play August 20th. These could potentially be a decent idea if you want to look towards like something like they're more expensive, but if you wanted to play like a $50 put or something like that out to August 20th, and maybe, you put a stop loss on it roughly at $60 and it gets back over that, you stop out and you can always reassess, or they may be too expensive, but we'll see. But I think this thing has probably got some range to the downside personally. After the run, we'll see. It probably comes down, back down to the 20s at some point. But that said, it could also end up being one of those plays that shorts get comfortable. And if it still holds the mid 40s, and the longer it holds those mid 40s, I would be staying away from the short side or buying puts, because this could easily pop back to the upside. So if it holds mid 40s, it's not a terrible idea to go long with a stop loss maybe under like 42, and then looking for a little kind of a little squeeze out. Could be, if it sets the tone and it's one of those that gets a lot of volume and the volume stays high this week, it could be a nice little move. But obviously, I think it has a lot of range to the downside. So personally, my bias would be short, or would be puts, but also not going to be stupid here and just buy puts because I think it's going to go down. You might be squeezed out in the short term. So it's one to keep on the radar. If it firms up and holds the mid 40s, it's not a bad idea. Outside of that, I want to take a look at MRIN because this is one that's also been kind of holding up as well. I'm curious to see if this one finally dies. MRIN was one that made a crazy run. It's got tons of room to the downside, but I'm curious to see if shorts will get in control. I think this is not going to be short sell restricted tomorrow, so I would not be surprised if shorts try to take this thing down to $15 or less. So just be careful of that one. If you're watching that one, that's one that's on my radar for sure. Down 15, under 15, this thing has, this could come down, this could come down dollars pretty quick. Again, once the threshold for me is that once it hits that 10% down on a day and into the next day, I prefer to stay away if I was looking to short it for a day trade, just because, maybe for a small move, but just because you then have the issue of short sale restriction, which means you can't hammer the bid. You have to short it on an uptick if it's down over 10% in a day the next day as well. Just something to be paying attention to. Let's see. GNPK for space sector. Let's pull this bad boy up. Not this guy. GNPK. Let's pull up this guy up. It's sitting here. It looks like a SPAC play. It's sitting roughly near 10, just over 10. This risk reward is not bad. These have been pulling back though post merger, post ticker change. A lot of them, and then if they have more range to the upside. So for example, let's take a look at this one. It's not a bad spot right here for the play, but just be careful if it does fall below 10 after the change. ASTS is one of those examples. I think everyone thought it was going to hold 10, and then it had that hard pull, and it came down to 7, popped back to 10, and then came back down to 7 again, and then eventually pushed up. So from that dip down to 7, it has been it hit up over 100% a couple days ago. But just be careful. There could be better opportunities on those dips if you like a stock like that in the sector. So that's what I'd be watching for a swing trade. Be making sure you cut it if the momentum's not there. Okay, you might think it's the most undervalued play on the market, but just be careful. That's why that's kind of my thought process on ELYS. ELYS, by the way, Italy just won the cup. They're big in Italy. Sports betting stock, big in Italy with U.S. and Canadian expansion literally ongoing right now. This is big. I think this is going to be a massive play. I'm loading up on share. I'm not playing options. I'm just shares. In my short-term portfolio, I'm pretty much like full position size there. And then of course, I'm not going to be doing something stupid. Even if I think this is a great play, I would never go all in. Or half a portfolio, or even 30%, 10% of the portfolio is a max size. So I still have my risk management in place. And then I'm also buying some, and I'm considering putting some in the Roth IRA. I also have some in the long-term account. This is one that I'm super comfortable holding this one, even if penny stocks, if the small caps take a hit this summer. I think fundamentally here, this is a massive play going forward. Fundamental. So it's less a technical play. I mean, of course, I always watch technicals. Less a technical play, more a fundamental undervalued play. And I think it's going to be pretty big. And I wouldn't be surprised for some massive numbers in their next earnings report, because last earnings they had record revenue. They are a sports betting company in Italy. Do you think people are not betting on sports right now with Italy literally just winning the cup? I doubt that they had a decrease in numbers this past couple of months. Just my speculation. So that's one that I would love to. I mean, that's an earnings run up / an earnings that I would be comfortable holding through with a longer term outlook on that one. So that's one. If I had to say that there's my favorite play, it's probably this one. And it's probably if it goes to $10, yeah, I mean I'm taking profits for sure, but I also would be getting ready to reload that thing on dips if I still like the play going forward. AHT, here's the thing. I'm out of AHT for right now. Yeah, I was stupid on it. I made stupid mistakes. It is what it is. You live and you learn. You got to be, at some point, you don't want to hold too many bags. I'm waiting for this to kind of really bottom out, firm up, and then that's where I may be taking a position on AHT for the next couple of months, potentially for a nice rebound play. I think it has that range. Wait for the reverse split. That's what I'm going to do. And then we'll reassess there. Of course, if you're in, worst case scenario, I mean, I don't think you have that much more downside from the current levels. Based on just fundamentally, right, this company, the return back to travel and whatnot, and the hotel industry, I think it's fine. But the history of the company isn't the best. So longer term outlook, they have a history of diluting shareholders and a lot of that stuff. So just make sure you're aware of that. I think that this can easily be a spikeable play where it makes those types of runs around earnings reports or going forward if we get some travel related news and hotel related news for sure. But I want to be a little more, I'm going to personally be a little more greedy on this play and try to get it at, if I don't get it lower, I want to wait till I can see a solid support forming and building, which we don't have as much history after the recent drop. Let's see if this area down here towards 225 or roughly, that holds up, then that's a good sign. And that's probably where I'd be looking to take an entry point if I wanted to get back into AHT. PLTR has been selling off, if I recall correctly. PLTR. It's trying to bounce actually the past 2 days. It's trying to bounce here at the 50 SMA roughly. So we'll see. PLTR is an interesting one. I still think it's in a rough range right here to be watching. This is a consolidation range. I think this is a good buy for the long term in this range. I think it eventually will break out of the range. It had quite the run, so it's going to take some time. And that's one of the other things too. I saw some comments, I think, on SoFi. Actually, I'll pull it up. I'll pull up SoFi. SoFi, if you guys don't know, one of the, I guess, the biggest names or one of the bigger, most well-known names in the student loan refinancing and a lot of other aspects too. Someone said that, yeah, I saw this video. If you guys don't know, I have other channels that I have videos on. So for example, stock trends is one of them. And we'll talk about stocks that are hot, what's running, what's moving. We'll talk about support resistance, why the stock is up, what you should be aware of to the downside, your upside, all that type of stuff. And, someone was saying, hey, I bought this stock after you made a video on it and it's just been tanking ever since. Now, first off, okay, tanking, the thing's down from like $20 down to like 17. It's down. I wouldn't say it just absolutely tanked. If you look back to the left, there is support here. It's been there. It's a consolidation range. If I was going to buy this stock, I wouldn't be surprised. If I'm looking for a dip, wouldn't be surprised for it to come down to this level, number one. Number two, I definitely think that there's a big problem with a lot of that stuff in general. And I've said it before, just because I literally do not want anyone to buy stock because of any video that I make. I hope that it's an idea. It's an idea for you to then say, okay, does this make sense for me? Do I like this idea? Can I make a trading plan based on this idea? If so, then sure, go ahead. It's your decision to click the buttons. So the problem with that, and it is what it is for someone who's going to be in that mindset, but there's a lot of other people who make a lot more scammy or pumpy style content, which I don't do, but they make a lot of those types of content where it's very much, this stock is going to the moon, Dogecoin's going to do this is going to do this, get in now, you're going to miss out. That stuff is super dangerous, especially if you don't have a plan. So just make sure if you have a plan, then you can watch that stuff and buy those stocks as long as you are aware of what you're doing. I think too many people get started out and they just start buying. And it's not even started out, just too many people in general get caught up in that. Whether you're experienced or not, it's very easy to get caught up in that and not even realize it. So that's one thing to watch. SoFi, I like it a lot right here in these levels. This is something that I would be accumulating. I'm contemplating putting it in the IRA. Setting and forgetting, literally just setting and forgetting for a couple of years and just adding to this position as I add to my IRA, and that's it. So for those who don't know or not aware, Roth IRA helps avoid taxes. You're not going to get taxed on the gains, but there's a max $6,000 contribution per year. So of course they kind of cap you on how much you can put in, but if you outpace market returns and you're someone in your 30s, 20s, or even you're 18 or whatnot, and you can open an account, the advantage of the time on your side is massive, just absolutely massive. So if you can, just put some money aside. I got my brothers who just turned 18. I got them. They're making their IRAs. They're putting money. They're just buying VOO. They're literally just buying VOO. I'm like, guys, you're 18 years old. Literally just buy VOO. This is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. Yeah, okay, we're straight up. I understand. Yeah, we're going to probably get pullbacks. I'm like, guys, buy VOO, get more work, right? They have jobs, work, get money. When it's down, buy more, buy it every week, buy it every month, put $100 in, whatever the number is, whatever you can afford, put it in, and just literally you're going to look back at this in 5 years, 10 years and go, oh, wow, I got a lot of money. That's the strategy for the Roth IRA. If you wanted to, you could go for more speculative stocks or go for individual stocks. The reason why I do that personally myself is because in that case, I can find, ideally, I'm looking for stocks that I think can outpace the market returns, outpace the S&P. And then that's where you can make a little bit more and obviously compound that over, the course of 10, 20, 30 years. And you can do exceptionally well in terms of where you'll end up. But if you just do the simple VOO, S&P ETFs, if you just simply do that, you're going to be so happy with yourself at 18 for doing that. I know it sucks because you want the $100 to go buy a pair of shoes or go buy this or buy that, but I'm telling you, if you just put aside a few dollars, you're going to thank yourself. Holding a massive bag on Metamaterials, Church merger down 50%. Here's the thing. This could certainly come down more. The only problem is that it could come down a lot more. So it depends on one of the biggest issues that I think a lot of people get caught up in is bag holding. And to a degree, you can bag hold with experience and manage a trade to get out of a trade. But there becomes a problem of if this stock, let's say MMAT comes down to like 250, right? Are you going to either add to that or are you going to get fed up and cut it? So it's like, if you know yourself and you're in that kind of mindset, just be careful because you could save yourself some money and there's some opportunity costs of finding something else in the short term, or finding something else, or just holding that cash and having cash for a rainy day. Just be careful. It could firm up here, but personally, it's just pulling back. I don't know where it's going to find some support. Let's give it some more time. If you do want to manage this is one that I would be looking at as let it find support, let it bottom out, then add to your position, and then bring your average down on that play if you still like it. MMAT, if I recall, I can pull it up. Metamaterials. What's their site? This is their site. Metamaterials. Let's go to FinViz. I do want to pull this up really quick because I don't know. I haven't looked into the super details of this company, of the stock, but aerospace, defense, automotive, consumer electronics, energy, medical. I mean, they do it all. For me right there, that's not very specific. I don't necessarily like that, but I don't know enough about them. So I would have to look deeper into what they have going on behind the scenes. I would prefer that they would focus somewhere, but then again, I don't know. So, this could be the stock though that in that aerospace and defense kind of sector that drops a space-related PR tomorrow morning, who knows, right? And the thing runs massive. So that's the type of play that you could be setting up for. So you can have that as well, which is what I was thinking of too today. I was like, I don't know, but this is one of those stocks that could be one of those that drops a PR. Boom, toss space in there, toss exploit, who knows, and boom, it hits the headline reads well, and it runs. Just something to watch out. So there's that. SPC, we talked about at the beginning. If I had to guess, I think, okay, everyone. The problem here is that I got a lot. People were saying sell the news. Exactly why I think it might not be a sell the news. We had a pretty hard sell the news after the test flight was a go or was positive, and this flight right was given the go ahead, we had a sell the news event. Great, we had a sell the news event. Now we got the actual flight. It was a go. There was no issues. Seemingly, they landed. They went to space. They came back. Seems like it was good. I think it's a ripper. I think it's going to rip in the morning, and then of course when the market opens, we'll get a feel. It could be a pop and then a drop intraday. I think at a minimum, this makes a good run in pre-market. So that's my take. But be careful of the $1 billion shelf offering that they have on file. Right here, they can literally offer $1 billion in securities, which would dilute some shareholders, I would imagine, for sure. And then that would bring the price down. So be careful of that. That's what I'd be waiting for on the short side. If this thing goes up 70 plus or 60 plus, ideally, that could be a good short at some point. SPRT merger play this week. Now it's setting up higher lows being put in. Got some support here down towards $4, just below $4. Higher lows, we have resistance up here just north of 5, so $5 will be a key level to watch. 56% short interest. That could be a squeezer for sure. So if I going down, if big pipe lockup ends this month, that's the opportunity. So I'm thinking if we get further dips, which I think we can, I think it'll probably hold up around that $14, but hey, it could drop lower. I mean, there's nothing has to hold, right? That would be an opportunity, in my opinion, just to be buying some and stashing it away for the long term. Anything under $20, I think is going to be okay. Look back in 5 years, I think you're going to be fine. But that's the thing. I have more of like a 5-year outlook on SoFi rather than like a 2-month outlook or a 2-week outlook. That's just kind of how I'm playing it. So short-term catalyst, long-term catalyst, right aside, I'd be looking to accumulate this thing on further dips from the current levels if we get them. If not, under 20, I think is okay. Meta has a crazy patent on 5G, window tint film, antenna stuff. 5G is going to be, there's going to be, I think we have yet to see a real 5G run. So I think it's going to be a pretty big play. When space, we don't know when they're going to drop. We don't know when they're going to drop, but it is probably coming. It's probably coming. I mean, just the expenses that, I don't know how much that flight costs. I'm sure you can probably find it somewhere online. But that flight today, I was just watching it. I'm like, this just looks so expensive. It looks so cool, but I'm like, it's got to be so expensive. I can't imagine for more tests in the future. I can't imagine them not using the opportunity right now while everybody's watching their stock and wants to invest in their stock because everything went well and everything's looking good right now. They got everyone on the positive side. It would be the prime opportunity to raise some capital. So that's what I'm thinking. Let's see. ASTR. ASTR, is that on my ASTR space list? Yeah, I have it on the space list. ASTR. It's building. It's got a lot of range. So the lower the better in my opinion here, but there's plenty of range to the upside. Personally, it came up on my scan today I was looking at. I would like to look a little bit deeper into the company, so I personally can't really comment too much on that front. But chart-wise, we were putting in higher lows. We're kind of curling on up around in the corner. We got 50 SMA support right now, this blue line, so that's curling on up. With time, this will keep pulling up. Volume has been coming in. Volume, right, we have 9 million shares. We had a 17 million share day. Friday, we had 6.1 million shares. So the volume is there, relatively speaking, at least as of right now. I think it's going to probably get some attention this week with the flight, I would think. IHT thoughts. This is one that has come up, I believe, recently in my own lookings, if I'm not mistaken. IHT, I just want to zoom out on this guy. It's an interesting spot. I want to see how this is a decent spot to potentially look at it. I would like to see $5 hold. So if you're looking at it right here, you are downtrending. We can put a downtrend line in right now. Pretty easy to see that one. Connect a bunch of those tops. Fairly easy to see, but we could pop above that tomorrow. It looks like we tried to get up there. We're at the edge of that line on Friday. So we'll see if we pop above, but I would like to see it holding $5. Also a key level. $5 is a pretty natural area of support resistance. When above, support. When below, resistance, generally speaking. Psychological level. And one of the quotes I saw was something along the lines of trading is, a massive psychology course, right? But there's literally an unlimited earning potential. I think that just really makes the most sense to me, honestly. It's like you can learn so much of the technicals and the fundamentals and this and that, but the biggest problems people are going to end up having is themselves and selling too early, selling too late, just getting caught up in too many things, super short term sometimes, and sometimes super long term, right? If you had an idea of a play for the short term, for a day trade, you let it become a swing trade, you let it become a long term investment. Next thing you know, you're bag holding, and the opportunity cost of holding those shares down 50% doesn't make sense. So it really becomes it's so much more mental than people really believe, which I think is huge. Yes, that's why the psychology comes in. $5 psychological level, every dollar, $10 as well as one on penny stocks under a dollar. $1 is a psychological level. Very key area to watch. RSLS, this one I think got picked up a little bit yet on Friday. Did it? Did it not? RSLS. Sorry, why is it not pulling up? Here it is. It popped a little bit. Let's take a peek. Popped a little bit. It did kind of have a nasty kind of pullback for a couple of days. My only concern with this guy is the pop that it had, and it hit resistance up around this area that it was kind of consolidating. It hit resistance up there, that $6 at 6+, and then fell quite hard down, intraday. So that's just kind of somewhat concerning. I don't know if I really want to. I don't like that price action, but I know quite a few people who are on this one. I haven't personally looked into it enough myself to feel comfortable playing it, but I don't know if I would want to be. If you're looking at this one, let it bottom out and build some support, and at that point, that could be a better entry point. Right now, it's kind of less. There hasn't been too much action at this level, so we'll see. Let's see. UONE is a crazy one. What is it doing right now? Yeah, it's trying to perk back on up. Crazy run. I remember I got caught in it in here, I think on the short side. Then I went long and I made the money back, and then I went down and then it went up. It was super weird price action, but if it comes, it's got some support here down towards 750. Probably going to have resistance up towards 10. It had a pop on Thursday up towards 11.11. I don't know if that'll be resistance. It will be resistance right now, so that's going to be a key area to watch. I would say $10 is key. It's got to get back over 10. In the meantime, I would imagine if it's not hot tomorrow, you can probably get a better entry on it. I would think. Wouldn't be surprised if you can get a sub $8 entry on it. So personally, that's what I would think. Just chart wise, I'm thinking that's what you probably could get. ATXI, PTIX, same time MDOS. ATXI, I feel like that one. I am quite. Yeah, I would like to see it holding 220. At that point, I don't know if I really want to mess with that one too much longer, because personally, you could be in this one and it could eventually make a bigger move. But the problem that I would have with it is that you could also be in this thing, and if we go into the summer period, right, which the summer traditionally is slower for penny stocks, and we're also noticing right now, I think across the board, that you're seeing good runners intraday, which is great, but what's not in the spotlight is generally selling off, is generally kind of slowly trickling down. So you don't want to be caught up in something like this and holding it all the way down unless you have a much longer time horizon on it. Personally, that's kind of how I would see it. So if it doesn't hold 220, I'd be cautious there on that one. FRSX, I think, is a decent play in the future, personally. I know quite a few people who are on that one who like that one. I don't personally, let's look at the chart, have any shares. But yeah, you're getting a good opportunity, I think, now. Generally speaking, you have a much better opportunity than you had, months back when it was 10 plus, peak hype. Where's George? George got adopted a while ago. It worked out really well. That was our foster dog. But this week I'm actually currently holding the fort down alone. So we got the entire place to ourselves. But no, yeah, George, he got adopted. Great guy, adopted him. He was great. We took him in for the snowstorm here in Austin, Texas, of all places, right? We had a snowstorm in February because he was at the shelter, and they don't have like heat and stuff. They have heating like lamps and fans, but they didn't have they don't get that type of cold. And so we took him in for that, and he was great. And then, we were contemplating keeping him, but then we eventually we weren't really too ready for it. But then we eventually had someone who came along who was like, we had to essentially screen people. And he was perfect. The guy, he's been sending us pictures and stuff. So he's in good hands. He's doing well. And if he ever needs someone to walk him or to watch him for like vacation and whatnot, we're right here. So he might be back at some point for a short-term stay, but he's doing good. Held TRCH quite some time. Pain. Yeah, that's one of those things. If you have a conviction on a stock too, it's very easy to be someone who ends up holding a stock. You had conviction and the price action is just not backing your conviction up. and then you dump it only for like to look back 2 weeks later and the thing ran, or 2 months later and be like, oh my gosh, I had that thing at this price. I can't believe it. It happens all the time. So that's what I've done is personally, the bigger problem is that either you do that when you're either over leveraged on a stock, or you're in too much stuff and you're in too many positions and you don't have a consolidation. So yeah, there's a million stocks that I kind of like right now. Even penny stock plays, I do like where they're setting up, but I just don't have a million positions like I kind of would like to. I feel like at times, because I see potential here and there, but you can't catch them all, number one. And number two, it's a lot more, I guess, mentally less taxing to be consolidated on your top highest conviction stocks. That's what you get to see every day. You know what they're going to do. If they dip, if they do this, they do that, you have a plan as to what you're going to do. And that's it. It makes it so much easier. Personally, that's how I see it. That's what I've been doing, at least lately. When things are super hot, like we saw end of the year last year into the early part of this year, yeah, I mean, now's where, you can have a ton of, you can be, your entire portfolio in, and you can be on margin, and you can be just, pulling it in, right? You can be racking it in, and it works, but it doesn't always work like that. Let's see. SPWR. This is actually, this brings me to one of the swings I think is a good idea too. I don't have it right now, but I like it. Solid, putting in higher lows. I would like it to hold up over 25 now. It's putting in higher lows. As long as it holds 25, it looks pretty good, healthy to me. It could come down below 25, but 25 would be the 50 SMA, which would be a good area of support. Yeah, this looks like a decent swing, in my opinion. Also, Sun W is a similar chart, very similar chart, kind of, at that point right there, 25 EMA or SMA, right around $9. I think it's not a bad idea. I would say, yeah, could it come down more? Yeah, it could have a dip, but it's one of those similar sector plays. I kind of like it. I kind of like this one. You had the crazy range, so the stock has range, crazy run. But now we're kind of setting up where we're kind of slowly grinding our way back up. This is one that I probably would be stashing away. I'd be looking at a longer term swing on it. Unless we see, either some news that drives it down, or it does drop below maybe like 750, and then I'm like, okay, let's reassess. Got an ATXI when it fell down, new bottom, really good average. Yeah, that's the thing. Just be careful on that. If it does fall below 220, it might wick below 220 and then rip the next day. So be careful. I would give it a day or two to see how it plays out. But that's my thing, is that if you see overall selling pressure across just pennies in general into the summer, and your stock that you're in doesn't have a catalyst, or doesn't get news, or just doesn't get the volume that even on news, right? Because ELYS is one that has gotten good news lately, but just the volume just hasn't seemed to come in, which is weird, but it is what it is. That's one that I have a higher conviction on longer term. So that's my plan. But on something like that, just be careful, because it could come down, that thing could come down to like, 150, even $1. Who knows if we see some big sell-offs into like August, September. So I would personally look to cut it quickly under 220, and then if it holds up and firms up again, you can always get back in, which would be a good sign. Or if it comes down $2 and then holds $2 as support, you can probably try that again and try it every maybe like 25 cents or so, and see if those areas hold up as support. At least you're minimizing your risk a little bit and not being in that too much. Let's see. Outside of that, I do want to look at Bitcoin, because I haven't been paying attention to this one too much. Look at this. I mean, it's just consolidating super nice. This is a bear flag too, is setting up right here on Bitcoin. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another pullback on Bitcoin in the short term before potentially the next one. I've also been seeing a lot of people talking about it on social media as well. And some of the things I've been seeing is that, retail and a lot of people are so accustomed right now to buying the dip. Wouldn't be surprised if we get one more shakeout across the crypto markets really hard, and then that's opportunity right before the next bull run. Personally, I just bought and hold Bitcoin, and so I don't really care. I'll try to buy some more if we get a bigger dip. That's just my view on it personally. Let's just take a peek at Ethereum. It's just an idea to make sure we're watching, just because this could, affect some stocks and stuff that have ties. Really good support here around just under 2,000 on Ethereum. So this is a nice chart. I kind of like this area right here. We kind of have this area that we drew in a while ago. that is a nice buy zone, in my opinion. It could drop below, but that's a buy zone for right now. And Ethereum's looking like it's holding up a little bit better, or at least lately, maybe than Bitcoin. I don't know. And then while we're at it, might as well, our good old friend Dogecoin, how is it doing? Well, doesn't look good. It's trying to hold up here just under 20 cents, and it's trying to do it again. If it holds up, great, but if it does, it seems like it's heavy. It's something that as you kind of look at charts a lot, this has that heavy look where it's had a couple bounces, it pushes back up, and then it comes back down, makes a lower low. Bounces, and then it comes back up and doesn't go that high, and then it starts to fade off again. And it just has like that heavier feeling. So that's just the feeling we're getting from the chart. Obviously, charts don't have feelings, but I would recommend you don't trade with emotions, but it has that heavy-ish feeling, at least view, and the way that I see it right now. We'll see. If it holds up right here, that'll be a good sign, though. Let's see. SGOC. I see some shatter. SGOC. Let's take a peek. SGOC was one that popped pretty hard on Friday. If we don't, well, let's take a look. How did it do in the after hours? Okay, so SGOC hit 1880, held up really nice in the after hours. This could be one of those 4 a.m. poppers. I'm going to look up on actually, let's pull it up on Finviz. Do we have Finviz? Yeah, we got it. Do we have a float on this thing? SGOC. We got a 29 million float. It's not super low, but it's fairly low. It's interesting. We have, what do we got? 56% insider ownership. You see a lot of that in a lot of Chinese stocks. That's common, but that's interesting. Okay, so this is one that I'd be watching for, let's see what happens come tomorrow morning. And I think this is not something you want to be chasing. Dips are probably your friend, but it's firming up here around this $11. So under $11, I wouldn't be a fan. Unless it drops down below, maybe find some support lower 10 or 9, and then maybe it runs. But because it has that potential, right? I think it halted up a couple times too on Friday. But I would imagine this is probably one of those that pops in pre-market, offers shorts the opportunity from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. to take it back down, and then at 7 a.m. we'll see, does it firm up or does it keep falling on off? And then that's the opportunity. That's one of the things I'm going to leave off with, because we're going to wrap things up here in a second. I'm testing out kind of like a new strategy, or I'm going to try something this week. I'll have a video more detailed on it, but it involves the 4 a.m. kind of plays. Now, it's not like I'm going to just be randomly shorting random stocks at 4 a.m. No. But I think there's a potential opportunity on some of these low floats that do go absolutely bonkers at 4 a.m. From that 4:15 a.m. to like 6:30 a.m., there's opportunity there on a good chunk of downside. Now, I'm not looking to short that thing to zero, but I'm looking to take, a couple dollar move, which I've been seeing a lot of stocks. Yeah, we've been kind of seeing that type of stuff. So I'm going to test it out. Yeah, it sucks. Come Central Time, so I got to get up at 3 a.m. But we're going to test it out for a week and see how it goes. I have no idea how it will go. I'll have the results obviously coming up this week, but it could be worth some attention, I think. So that said, futures, let's get a last check here of futures. Pretty much even right now across the board. Small caps, tech are up slightly. The S&P and the Dow are down slightly, but pretty much hovering around even. VIX is slightly elevated, but nothing crazy by any means. I do like body. Beachbody, that's a long-term play in my opinion. That's what I would say on Beachbody. Outside of that, I'm going to wrap things up. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed for more videos. Also, check out our other channels. We'll link them down below. What I'm doing more of now is a lot more technical stuff, top stocks, hot stocks, and stuff like that. We talk about all that stuff on the Stock Trends channel. A lot more educational stuff, how-tos, different indicator talk. So if I get a lot of questions on certain things, I like to kind of focus them on in their own sections, and kind of, so I have those other channels, TC trading, and then stock trends, and then of course this channel. So that's that. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be going live Wednesday morning like we always do, live trading. Then next week we probably won't. Probably not going to have lives, so we'll have a live next Sunday like usual, but then next Wednesday I'm traveling, and then next Sunday I'm going to be in New Jersey. So I don't think I'm going to be able to go live. What I'll probably do is I'll do like a write-up. So like I'll have like a list of stuff. I'll write some stuff up, and then I'll leave you guys. People can comment their thoughts in the comments of that on the community tab is probably what I'll do for that next Sunday video. I'll be with family for a week, so I'm going like Wednesday to Wednesday, so it's like weird time. Cheaper flights, but you know, it is what it is. So that's what I'm doing. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Stay green this week. Going to be an exciting week. We'll be covering it, obviously, like we always do, come Wednesday morning, live like usual. Thanks so much. Peace.